It is championship chase season, but it's also drama season still as well. A lot of unfolding things with Michigan's triple threat match with the rest of the Big Ten and the NCAA. We'll talk about that tonight. We will discuss it's also turning the page to Penn State week, and Michigan basketball also gets going somewhat under the radar tomorrow as well. We'll discuss that. And of course, pending how much time we have, we will take your questions at the end. So, fellas, I'll bring you in first. And I'm not going to ask who you are or how you are. I know who you are. But in terms of how you are, I know that you are sleep deprived, you are stressed, and you are on the edge of your seat like the rest of us have been.
Yeah, I'm trying to read these comments here and keep up. Guys, I'm tired, man. I am so tired of this. I just want to cover a team, like as Clay behind the sign behind Clay. Just cover the team, man. When the team is going through something like this, it makes it tougher. This is worse than any coaching search I've ever covered. I'll tell you that. So, but it helps to have great sources on all sides of it, and I think we do. I think it's pretty obvious to a lot of people. Benjamin Gregg, Ballas, interesting to see all the accusations against Michigan of cheating from outlets that don't source the Wolverine for the breaking news that they are in fact stealing from you guys. Yeah, it is interesting, isn't it? But we're kind of used to it. But the good news about it is that means that you're doing something right, and we got a lot of people that trust us, and there's a reason that we are by far the largest Michigan pay site out there, and that we've got a very loyal following on the Ford at the Wolverine.com, 99.9% of whom we love a ton. So we're going to keep doing what we do. And I'll tell you this, it's going to be an interesting week. So especially with the news now that we got this morning, that it appears that it is alleged that, and Michigan supposedly has documents that teams were colluding against Michigan, sending guys out to steal signs or something to that effect, and then putting a spreadsheet together and then using them. And as a matter of fact, from one thing that I picked up about some of the evidence they have is an actual sheet of Michigan plays and their signs that they compiled from a spreadsheet. You can't make this stuff up, fellas. And so, in other words, as Stuart Mandel said, who is certainly no fan of Michigan, it appears from his past writings and postings, so let me get this straight. The schools that were turning Michigan in for alleged sign stealing were all colluding against Michigan to steal their signs and give them to each other, which certainly you would think, and the AP alleges, violates the Big Ten sportsmanship agreement. So I'd feel a lot better if Tony Petitti weren't leaning on Jim Delaney here for help, former Big Ten commissioner Jim Delaney, because Jim Delaney is no Michigan supporter. I can promise you that. And anybody at Michigan, if Bo Schembechler were here, we'd probably have him on this show to tell you what he thinks of Jim Delaney going back to 1989. So, but hopefully the truth comes out. And no, in no way, shape, or form do we condone anything illegal. And if Michigan's doing it, we will be the first ones to tell you if there is proof. But we are asking, as Doug Karsh has said, our esteemed colleague, our colleague, who is also the voice of Michigan football, he said, hey, Michigan.
He's esteemed.
Well, yeah. Anyway, now I just lost my train of thought. Thanks, Clay. He said, hey, they just want the same treatment that the NCAA has given everybody else, right? Which means, hey, 3-game suspension for Jim Harbaugh, and let's move on.
Yeah, I'm doing good, thanks.
Sorry, Clay. That was too long, wasn't it? I apologize.
You got
no, that was fantastic. I'm just messing around. No, I agree with about everything you said, and really due process. I mean, is that too much to ask for in this country, especially when there's no evidence that the NCAA or Big Ten has that this is linked to Jim Harbaugh? So yeah, you'd suspend him because he's the head coach and he's responsible for his program and them being compliant. But that's an NCAA rule. That would come at the end of the NCAA investigation. Right now, Michigan's fighting back on even, how many rules were really broken, or how many times bylaw 1161 was broken. Who is university personnel, who's not? Is Connor Stallion's mom a university personnel? Apparently some of his family members were some of the people scouting. So there's so much to sift through, but one of them is the hypocrisy by these other Big Ten teams that were so outraged last week, who may have been, engaging in some nefarious acts themselves, which isn't overly surprising. Everyone's trying to get an edge.
Clutch those pearls.
Exactly. Yeah. And here's the thing for me. If you're Tony Petitti, you already gave Michigan a notice of allegations, a notice of a potential punishment today. Then this stuff comes out. a couple hours later. The precedent now is that immediately you pull these people off the field, you suspend them, you make it go to court. I mean, this could get really messy if you're Tony Petitti. I think he's running the risk of having a pretty short-lived tenure if this thing blows up in his face, which, it seems like it might at this point. So it's getting pretty messy. But from a Michigan standpoint, I think you're pretty optimistic about how things could hold up in court and how and how this could go down, at least in the short term with the Big Ten specifically. But it's been really interesting.
Yeah, and speaking to our sources very close to it last night, they said they are optimistic if they have to file an injunction. Somebody just said ESPN just sent out an alert saying the Big Ten told Michigan they may face disciplinary action. That's not new news, except that the notice of allegations that they got is. And we said it'd be middle of the week when the Big Ten says, okay, maybe this is going to be the result. Maybe it's going to be an indefinite suspension. There was a report out there that the Big Ten asked Michigan to suspend him for 2 games. That was not accurate. They wanted an indefinite suspension. They were not going to accept 2 games, according to our sources involved in this. So, you know what? You do tell them no at that point. You say you're out of your mind. You are out of your mind to sit there and let a bunch of coaches who are now allegedly, some of them, and we know who these people are, folks, and it's not going to surprise anybody when the teams leak, the alleged teams that were stealing Michigan signs. Then you know what? You want to talk about hypocrisy, and that same group now is trying to get Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh suspended or worse, and really kind of take the shine off this season. That's when you just tell them to go to hell, and I think that's what Michigan is prepared to do. In fact, I know that's what Michigan is prepared to do, barring some kind of evidence that comes in here that shows something nefarious was going on, but there's nothing linking Jim Harbaugh to this right now. They are just saying that he needs to know what goes on in his program. And that part, frankly, I agree with. But until the evidence is out there, fellas, no deal.